Breaking news right now in Virginia. Virginia Tech University under a lockdown after police say 2 gunmen opened fire on campus. John Scott is on the set with me now. John?
It is an absolutely terrifying situation there. Police say 1 person was killed. There are reports that as many as 17 people have been taken to local hospitals. According to police reports, 1 shooter is now in custody. The FBI is there, as well as Virginia Tech police, as you can see. Local police also responding. But it is absolute mayhem on the Virginia Tech campus. A couple of shootings have taken place, one at Torgerson Hall, and then at least an hour later, another one at Norris Hall, as you just heard Edie report. It is unclear exactly how many people might be involved in these shootings. But we're again just getting in this new video into the Fox newsroom of what's going on there. Virginia Tech, the scene of an on-campus shooting not that long ago, 6 months, 8 months ago. This does not appear to be related to that, but again, authorities have their hands full.
John, you know what's interesting? The hospital is now telling us, Montgomery Regional Hospital, that at least 17 people are being treated there. We know 1 person was killed, 1 injured early this morning, but if these other injuries are from the second shooting, a lot of people were able to get away from the gunman to get to the hospital, to get someplace where they are able to get treatment. It
raises questions as to whether this is another Columbine-style attack with a couple of people working in tandem, this time transplanted to a college campus setting. Blake Harrison is a student at Virginia Tech and joins us now on the phone. Blake, where are you at this moment?
I'm back at my apartment right now.
All right, back at your apartment. Were you on campus earlier?
Yes, sir. And I was proceeding to class, and this teacher was flying out of Norris, like bleeding, like from his arm or shoulder, like he was being escorted by an officer, and all these students were running out of Norris trying to take sanction into Randolph, and like all these kids were real freaked out. I actually talked to one of them, and they were talking about how they were barricading themselves inside their classrooms with tables and all kinds of like chairs, anything they could, and a gunman who was wearing a vest covered in clips, like was just unloading on their door and like going from classroom to classroom, just unloading rounds at windows, doors, like whatever he could, just reloading. And they said it never seemed like it was going to stop, and there's just blood all over like Randolph and Norris.
Did anybody recognize this gunman?
No, I mean, I was asking, like, the kid said that he thought it was just an Asian kid with a vest filled with clips, but like I said, they were trying to, take cover and stay low, not really get a good look.
And what was the reaction to the kids? What were you seeing around you?
I mean, everyone is just in shock, really kind of freaked out. It's supposed to be a normal day of class, and then they're having to barricade themselves inside classrooms and stuff. Everything's everyone's just kind of trying to figure out what's going on, but with 30,000 college kids around, I mean, it's kind of perfect for a shooter to blend in if he's a college kid.
A lot of, just a quick update and stay with us. The faculty and staff on the Burris Hall side of the drill field are being told to go home immediately. Faculty and staff on the War Memorial Hall side of the drill field are being asked to leave in about a half hour. All classes have been canceled for Montgomery County. That is where the Virginia Tech campus is. And classes on the Virginia Tech campus have been canceled for tomorrow as well.
Blake, you mentioned that this kid, this student, if that's what he is, had all kinds of ammo clipped to his vest. Was he using a handgun, or was he using a rifle or a shotgun? Do you know?
He said handgun. They said he was just unloading rounds into classrooms. And like one of my friend's particular classroom, they managed to keep him out by barricading the door with like all the tables and stuff. And they said he unloaded a couple clips on the door trying to get in, and then just moved on to the next classroom. And by the time they heard the shootings far enough away, they just made a mad dash for Randolph.
The 1 person that you said you saw personally who had been shot was a teacher?
He was an elder male teacher.
All right, and what about students? Did you see any students who had been hit?
I didn't see any students that have been.
It sounds like if you're in a classroom where they were able to barricade the door, kids knew that someone was doing this, that someone was moving down the hallway. How did that information spread?
I don't know. Like, I was talking to this kid, and he said that they heard gunshots, like down the hallway, and they knew that there had been a shooting before. So just naturally they started throwing stuff against the door.
Okay. Well, thanks for
They all
joining
like
us.
get away from the window at the door.
All right, thank you very much. An update from the hospital in Blacksburg, the hospital there, Memorial Regional, says 17 Virginia Tech students are being treated for gunshot wounds after those two shootings. They don't have details right now of the injuries, but we are told that a couple of the students, at least, are in surgery at this very moment. Again, two shootings occurring on the Virginia Tech campus. One, a deadly one this morning, and after that, a couple hours later, a shooting, as that student was describing, in one of the engineering buildings, with the shooter going door to door.
It just sounds, Edie, as though, I alluded to it earlier, as though this is some kind of a Columbine-style situation transplanted to a college campus, because police say they do have one shooter in custody from the earlier incident that happened earlier this morning. Then an hour and a half later, all of a sudden gunfire erupts on in a separate building on another part of the campus. And apparently that is where this high number of casualties is coming from. As you heard Blake Harrison, that student, say, he talked to other students who said there was a gunman with lots and lots of ammunition clipped to his vest, whether that's a bulletproof vest or just you know, a kind of a hunting vest, we don't know. But lots of ammunition, walking through one of the halls, one of the buildings there on campus, firing indiscriminately into the classrooms. It would be absolutely terrifying. For those of you who have students, children enrolled at Virginia Tech, we'll do our very best to get you the information about just exactly where this all transpired on the campus and who might be among the injured. And
Amanda Johnson is a student at Virginia Tech. She joins us on the phone right now. Amanda, what have you seen today?
This morning I was on my way walking to class, and I actually have class up near where the first shooting occurred. And I was walking from the side of campus where the second shooting occurred, and it was about 9:45, and I was walking between Norris and Randolph, which is the backside of Norris from the drill field. And I just parted from the person I was walking with, and I came around the corner between Burris and Norris, and as I was walking, I heard 6 rounds fired. I've been target shooting since I was a little kid, so I knew what the sounds were, so I got low and I just ran. I saw a young man jump out of a window out of Norris Hall, and he started limping off, so me and another kid grabbed him and helped him get off the field and got him into somebody's car.
Was he on the ground floor classroom, or was he on a higher level?
I don't remember right off the top of my head. I just remember seeing him land, and I just grabbed him and got him out of the way.
So even after the shooting this morning at the West Ambler Johnston dormitory, you were still able to walk about campus, and at that point, a lot of kids thought that the campus classes were on as usual.
Yes, ma'am. Actually, this morning, I was in the house on Main Street, and we heard an emergency unit come by, and we looked outside and saw it was a special unit, and we figured it was actually another bomb threat because it's become a common occurrence in the last 2 weeks that we've had 2 of them. So that's what we assumed, and we kept checking the Virginia Tech news, and then eventually we had seen that there was a shooting in West Ambler Johnston, and so then we continued, and we went on as usual because we kept checking our emails and got no notification that classes were canceled. So I was on my way to my 10:10 class when I heard the gunshots.
The student that you helped after he, or I guess it was a he, after he came out of the window, had he been hit by bullets, or was he simply wounded?
He had not been hit.
Wounded?
He had not been wounded.
Wounded from coming through the window or coming or falling down to the ground level, whatever.
I believe it was how he landed that affected him.
Did he say at all what had happened, what was happening?
He didn't say anything. He just said, "Get the hell out of here. Just run as fast as you can." And so we're trying to help him get out of there quick as possible. And I made it onto the drill field. And they're actually currently releasing students from other buildings who I'm guessing have been in there since their 9 o'clock classes. I'm standing in a residential building across the drill field staring at Norris where they originally stormed the building.
So you saw police officers physically storm that building?
Right. I was standing on the sidewalk in front of Norris, moving away from it when the police drove up the sidewalk and drove really quickly up the grass.
Okay, let me just, Amanda, 1 second. A Fox alert. According to one student on campus, a heavily armed gunman shot a teacher in Norris Hall. The hospital is reporting that they have 17 people that they are treating right now. Several are in surgery at this moment. But one of the students that we talked to earlier had been referring to what looked like a student, heavily armed, wearing a vest, carrying a gun, going through that Norris Hall, just shooting randomly, walking to a doorway, looking inside, and just shooting. Have you talked to other students on the campus who have witnessed some of these incidents this morning?
Yes, ma'am, I have. I'm actually in one of the residential buildings where they pushed a lot of us into. They just wanted us into buildings. We've all been here talking about it. We've all been on our way to class. Or a friend of mine actually lives in West Ambler, Johnston, on the 4th floor where the shooting occurred. She said that she was awoken this morning by her cleaning lady banging on the door, telling everybody that they were on lockdown and they had to go to the 3rd floor. And she said she heard the gunshots this morning.
All right. Well, we appreciate you joining us right now, Amanda. Stay safe. The campus technically still in a lockdown, but they are telling faculty on the Burris side hall of the drill field that they need to go home effective immediately. And then faculty and staff on the War Memorial Hall side of the drill field are allowed to leave at 12:30. But at this point, we don't have any confirmation that students are allowed to leave their buildings. It's been in a lockdown situation since about 10:16. I believe that's when the first email was sent out by the university. It was just after 7 o'clock, though, that in West Ambler Johnston Hall, a student, we believe, was shot and killed, another one injured, and several hours later, a second shooting at that engineering building, Norris Hall. And the student we were just talking to mentioned that there have been a couple of bomb threats in the past few weeks. On the 2nd, Torgerson Hall had a bomb threat, and on the 13th, again, Torgerson Hall had a bomb threat. That is another engineering building, which is the same, an engineering building like Norris Hall, where the second shooting took place today.
Edie, this is certainly, it would seem, going to rank among the worst university shootings in the nation's history. There was the one at the University of Texas that you no doubt remember.
Yes.
Also the one at the University of Chicago, the nursing school, many, many years ago, in which I believe 8 student nurses were killed. We, at this point, I should clarify, we only have 1 fatality reported, and it's not clear whether that is a student or not. 1 fatality reported, but 17 people being treated for gunshot wounds. We had that eyewitness report from a student earlier. He spoke with other students coming out of Norris Hall who said that a gunman, heavily armed, wearing some kind of a vest, whether it's bulletproof or not, we don't know, wearing some kind of a vest, was simply marching through a building with what sound like bandoliers full of ammunition draped around his person. And he was indiscriminately firing into the classrooms there on the Virginia Tech campus.
A little while ago, we talked to Virginia Tech professor Dr. Webster Santos. He is now reporting that buildings are being evacuated, that students and faculty are being asked to leave. But if you are watching at this point, I assume wait until they come to your building to let you know. John?
Judith Chambers is the spokesperson for Montgomery Regional Hospital. Judith, what's the situation there?
What I can tell you right now is that Montgomery Regional Hospital has received 17 students with injuries stemming from today's shooting on the Virginia Tech campus. And I would like to clarify something that you all have reported a couple of times recently. All are being treated presently for gunshot wounds or other injuries. And at this point, I cannot confirm what some of those other injuries may be, but they are all being treated. 2 of our sister facilities, Lewis Gale Medical Center in Salem, Virginia, and Pulaski Community Hospital in Pulaski, Virginia. We have all mobilized our teams to be able to treat other incoming patients as needed. At this point, I cannot report on any specific conditions of the patients, but we are working with local law enforcement to release more information as it is received.
Okay, but can you tell us, are there more than 17 victims? When you say that your sister medical centers have been alerted, are there more than 17?
All I can confirm at this point is that we do have 17 students here at Montgomery, and we're getting information from the local law enforcement officials as we speak. We will be making updates available to the media as the day progresses. So there will be additional updates that we will provide to you.
Okay, and again, to take your point of clarification, there are not necessarily 17 people with gunshot wounds.
That is correct.
We heard of one person who apparently came out a window and may have twisted or broken an ankle, something like that. There are those kinds of injuries apparently as a result of this event today.
What I can tell you is that there are some additional injuries, that they are not all necessarily gunshot wounds. But we will be providing clarification as the day progresses.
How did the students arrive? Were they sort of coming in as the police were able to get them off the campus, or did you get quite a bit of them? Did it appear that a number were able to somehow escape at the same time as this gunman was moving?
Edie, I don't have confirmation of that. This is all just transpiring as we speak, and we just want to make sure that no misinformation is conveyed. So we will be back in touch with you as we get more information throughout the day.
But are you able to give us any indications of the nature of some of the injuries? I mean, are some of these people in critical condition? Do you know?
I cannot at this time, but we're talking to the folks in the ER and with the EMS providers, and we will provide that information as we get it available to us.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Okay, you're most welcome.
We are expecting to hear from folks at Virginia Tech, a news conference there where we expect to hear from both the president of Virginia Tech and the police chief on Virginia Tech campus, also the university spokesperson. As we've been talking to a number of students, this is how we can best describe what unfolded today so far on the Virginia Tech campus. Early in the morning, just after 7 o'clock, there was a shooting on the 4th floor of one of the dormitory buildings, West Ambler Johnston Hall, primarily a freshman dormitory building. And a couple of hours later, just after 10, a second shooting at an engineering building. Eric Keefe is a student there at Virginia Tech. Eric, thanks for being with us. What did you see and hear today?
Well, I was on my way to class because I just got an email about a shooting in West AJ, and I had a friend on the floor where it happened, and I was just asking if she was going to go to class today, and she goes, "We're on lockdown," and she was really panicked, so I don't know, it didn't sound like she was going.
When did you get the information that the school was in lockdown and you weren't supposed to go anywhere?
Well, it wasn't until after the second shots were heard at Randolph. I don't know, I was with one of my friends, and he said that there were shots, like he heard shots fired on the drill field, and he went back to my dorm.
It would seem that there must be at least 2 shooters involved here, because police said they had somebody in custody from the earlier shooting.
Well, we don't know whether they're related or not, but the first one was in a dorm, like a residential hall, and the second one was in an engineering building.
Is there anything particularly stressful going on campus right now? I mean, is it finals time or anything like that, midterms?
Well, there are finals in like 2.5 weeks, but there's nothing that, I don't know, like there's nothing really stressful going on.
Because there have been these bomb threats that people have told us about, a series of bomb threats on campus.
Yeah, it's just been a crazy couple of weeks. Like, I really don't know what the motive is or anything.
Yeah. Stay on the line with us. This information coming in from the Associated Press. They're saying at least 1 person killed, 21 wounded in the shootings. Not necessarily all of them shot, but 21 people who have been injured in some way. When we were talking to the Montgomery Regional Hospital spokesperson, she said that 17 people were being treated at the hospital right now, but that there are 2 other facilities, medical facilities in the area, that these others may have gone to. The AP reporting 21 wounded, 1 person killed.
As you can imagine, there would be a great number of injuries in a circumstance like this. We heard one described from a student earlier who said that she was just walking across one of the fields near this building that seemed to be under attack, and some guy, I believe she said, came flying through a window, apparently trying to escape.
Let's go to this news conference right now.
I want to extend my deepest and most sincere and profound sympathies to the families of these victims, which include our students. We are currently...
All right, it appears that that was a taped feed of a statement that has just been made by the administration. The administration is going to stay open for business as usual, at least so we understand today. The school itself, Virginia Tech, has been closed.
And we're told that we'll have that statement for you in just a second. We expect to hear from the Virginia Tech president, Charles Steger, very soon. As soon as we get that in, and it should be in minutes, we'll release that. The classes have been canceled at Virginia Tech for tomorrow as well. And in fact, in all of Montgomery County, we are told that classes have been canceled. Again, the AP now confirming that there have been more victims, 21 people injured in all, one person killed in the two different shootings. Now, it is interesting that the police say that they have the suspected gunman in custody. Still, we are told they have been searching the buildings for a second person. So we don't know if there's one or two shooters involved.
We have with us on the phone once again Rod Wheeler. Okay, we understand that news conference is, we're about to play that tape. Let's listen in. All right, we apologize again. Situations like this are as chaotic for us as they are there at Virginia Tech. Let's listen to this news conference now.
There are fatalities. The university is shocked and indeed horrified that this would befall us, and I want to extend my deepest and most sincere and profound sympathies to the families of these victims, which include our students. We are currently in the process of notifying next of kin. The Virginia Tech police are being assisted by numerous other jurisdictions, including Montgomery County. Crime scenes are being investigated by the university police, the FBI, and the state police. We continue to work to identify the victims that have been impacted by this tragedy. I cannot begin to convey my own personal sense of loss over this senseless and incomprehensible heinous act. The university will immediately set up counseling centers. So far, centers have been identified in Ambler Johnson and the Cook Counseling Center to work with our campus community and their families. Now, here are some of the facts as we know them. At about 7:15 this morning, a 911 call came to the University Police Department concerning an event in West Ambler Johnson Hall. There were multiple shooting victims. While in the process of investigating, about 2 hours later, the university received reports of a shooting in Norris Hall. The police immediately responded. The shooter in Norris Hall is deceased. There are multiple fatalities. The number of fatalities has not been confirmed. Victims have been transported to various hospitals in the immediate area in the region to receive emergency treatment. And we will proceed to contact the next of kin as the victims' identities are available. All classes are canceled and the university is closed for the remainder of the day. The university will open tomorrow at 8 a.m., but classes will be canceled on Tuesday. The police are currently staging the release of people from campus buildings. Families wishing to reunite with their students are suggested to meet at the Inn at Virginia Tech, the building we're in today. We're making plans for a convocation tomorrow at noon in Castle Coliseum for the university to come together to begin the healing process for this terrible tragedy. That ends my prepared comments. We would be happy to respond to any specific questions that you might have.
And I would ask the chief to come forward.
Okay. Sir, can you tell us if the shooter was a student, and if the how many victims, fatal victims are, and if they were students?
We do not know if the shooter was a student or not. The case is still under investigation. As far as the victims, some were students, yes.
Were the other ones faculty groups, or?
It's still early in the investigation yet. We have not determined yet who all the victims are as far as whether they're connected as students or not.
And how many wounded were there?
I don't have the answer for the wounded yet.
Do we have a ballpark figure?
We have a ballpark figure on the fatalities. It's at least 20 fatalities.
We heard that someone just walked into a classroom and opened fire. Is that true?
Some of the victims were shot in the classroom.
So the gunman walked into a classroom and just opened fire on the students sitting there?
Some of the victims were shot in a classroom.
Do you believe it was one gunman and that gunman is deceased?
At this time, we believe it is only one gunman, yes.
And where is that gunman?
He is deceased.
There's another in custody, you said?
No.
Did the gunman shoot himself, or was he?
We're still determining the facts of that.
Was there any kind of shootout or altercation with law enforcement officers?
Again, it's still early in the investigation. We're still determining the facts of how he died.
The sequence of events was there was the shooting at the residence hall, and then 2 hours later there was a shooting at Norris Hall.
That's correct.
So how many of the roughly 20 fatal victims were at the residence, and how many were at Norris?
I have no idea.
So you had a ballpark figure on the fatalities.
Oh, you're asking me fatalities at the residence hall? I'm sorry, I misunderstood your question.
How many people killed at the Ambler Johnson, and how many killed at Norris?
At the West Ambler Johnson, we have one confirmed fatality.
Okay. And then, so the rest of them were at Norris. That was all in one classroom or multiple classrooms?
It's multiple locations inside the building.
All in one building.
We should note that we have no evidence that these two are related.
Is it the assumption, though, that they are related?
No.
We haven't made any assumptions. It's still early in the investigation. That's one question we will be trying to determine during the course of the investigation.
Do you know what kind of weapon was used?
I cannot release that at this time.
I mean, are you talking handgun, though, or rifle, or?
Again, I cannot release that at this time.
Do we know if there's the same shooter at both sites?
We do not know.
Do you believe the situation is under control for what message to students right now?
Yes, we believe the campus is secure. As Dr. Steger pointed out, we are releasing people to...
All right, the news conference there has ended abruptly. You got to hand it to those speakers. We believe that was Virginia Tech President Charles Steger and the Virginia Tech Police Chief Wendell Flincham, confirming that this is going to be one of the worst education shootings in this country's history, and sadly there have been too many of them. At least 20 dead on the campus of Virginia Tech University.
What they're telling us, the confirmation so far, and as you can tell, it is a difficult situation. They're still trying to ascertain how many are dead, how many are wounded. One person, they confirm, was killed in the residence hall early this morning. At least 19 others were killed in multiple locations at Norris Hall, inside that engineering building, several hours after the initial shooting. Now, what is interesting is that they say that there is one gunman, and that gunman is dead. That gunman, they said, dead inside Norris Hall. But then they made the comment that they aren't sure if these two shootings, these two locations are related. So that doesn't quite make sense, but as you know, it is a difficult situation, and they are trying to piece it all together now.
Perhaps we can talk to Rod Wheeler about that. He's a former homicide investigator for the Washington, D.C. police. Rod, you heard the news conference. What does that say to you? Are they just using an abundance of investigative caution?
You know, John, what it says to me specifically is that they are really somewhat flabbergasted in terms of all the events that has happened, and they're really trying to put this thing together.
Yeah, with good reason.
Just from looking at the police chief, he had a look on his face as if, he just can't seem to figure out at this point, and it makes a lot of sense as to why this occurred, how all of these shootings were able to happen. So many people ended up dead. As we know now, 20 dead. And how come this guy decided to do what he did? The other thing that I really found interesting is that he said there was only one shooter. One shooter in multiple locations, and nobody to stop that shooter before he actually got across campus is something that they're going to try to figure out to try to make sure this can't happen again.
Well, it suggests that this guy probably had a beef with a roommate or somebody in his dorm floor or something, maybe shot a couple of people there, and then just ammoed up and went across the campus to Norris Hall and really unloaded.
Well, John, that's a very interesting observation on your part, because that's exactly what I'm thinking. It was about 7:15 this morning, apparently, when the first shooting took place at the dormitory. And so the question now is whether or not this particular gunman, first of all, is he a student? And if he is a student, was he assigned to that dormitory? Where did he get this kind of ammunition from? Where did he get these weapons from? And if, in fact, he did shoot someone at the dormitory, did he go across campus, perhaps to the engineering building, from what I understand, and start shooting instructors and people in there? There has to be a connection. And then the other thing to keep in mind real quickly, John, is that there's always warning signs to situations like this. Now, there's always things leading up to this.
It's odd, and perhaps they misspoke, but the police chief there at Virginia Tech saying there is no evidence the two incidents are related. yet they are saying that they believe there is only one shooter. Again, the death this morning inside the residence hall, they also said that there were at least that there were multiple victims there. We know only one person died there. But what would you think? You've got one person killed, and then it's a couple of hours later that at this point a heavily armed young man, we were told by a student who saw the person, young man goes into the engineering building. What does that say to you in terms of perhaps the person's motive, intent, and if they went someplace where they had ammunition and a vest and other weapons stashed and came back? Rod, are you with us?
Sounds like we've lost our connection to Rod Wheeler, but boy, what an awful, awful situation. At least 20 people dead on the campus of Virginia Tech. Some of them we know are students. After a shooting rampage this morning that is still very mysterious. As Edie was just saying, it took place in two separate locations. One, a residence hall that houses primarily freshmen. The other, Norris Hall, an engineering classroom building. And as you just heard Chief Flincham say, many of the dead were students in classrooms. We heard one. It was a second-hand eyewitness account, but it sounded authoritative and authentic. Students who were coming out reported that this heavily armed, Asian-looking gentleman, possibly a student, we don't know, we haven't heard that yet, but a young Asian-looking man had some kind of a vest on, bandoliers of ammunition all over the vest, and was just walking from classroom to classroom unloading at will with a handgun. Students were desperately barricading the doors trying to keep him out, but it wasn't successful. As you heard, at least 19 victims in that classroom, and according to our Fox affiliate WSLS, the death toll already verified as 20. The death toll could go higher. We are joined on the phone now by Kenneth Trump, president of the National Safety and Security Services Company. Thank you for being with us. In a situation like this on campuses, large university campuses, what kind of precautions are normal to have in place in case of something like this?
Well, Edie, John, this is a situation that's different in many ways, but unique in others. From K through 12 schools, and our shootings like Columbine and K through 12 school shootings, you have a confined situation, one building, sometimes multiple buildings. And the college and universities are extremely open. They are very wide open. Their communications capability, hall to hall or building to buildings, may not be connected. There's not a PA system. It makes it very challenging for a response. The other side of that coin is that you have Virginia Tech police, as you're showing now, where they have their own university police department on site that can respond. So there are pros and cons in terms of how preparedness here. The challenges being, how do you manage such a large, wide-open campus with so many students, with communications building to buildings that may be difficult. On the other side, they do have an on-site response unit that would certainly make it preparedness and familiarity with the campus an advantage to law enforcement versus county or city folks who are just coming in, law enforcement that aren't familiar with the building.
Right. In cases like this at universities, is it normal now to have some system already set up with the local police? And as we know, the FBI was on the scene very quickly with perhaps even federal authorities, so that you've got a plan that you're going to go to in case the worst occurs.
The advantage of having that university campus police department is that they are sworn, certified law enforcement officers in many cases. They are the primary police responders. Certainly they should be networked with other city and county law enforcement. In this case, the FBI certainly sounds a little bit unusual, but not a bad thing, and it's great that they were able to respond. That's an extra response. The primary responders would be that campus police, and they should have protocols in place for mutual aid with surrounding police departments. They should have floor plans, blueprints, layouts for tactical response, have practiced active shooter responses versus just setting up a perimeter and waiting for the SWAT team. Same concept we've learned from Columbine with
K through 12 schools. There should be a strong infrastructure in place there that we actually don't have in many of our K through 12 schools.
Okay. Kenneth Trump, National Safety and Security Services, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks, Edie.
We had been listening to the university president speak earlier. He says that police are currently releasing people from buildings, but it's in stages. So if you're watching us on TV right now, do not leave those buildings until the police come to your building to say it's open. The university is making plans for a convocation tomorrow at noon. The classes, of course, all canceled through today, but they will reopen the campus at 8 a.m. tomorrow, they're saying.
Employees who need counseling are being told to go to the Bowman Room in the Merriman Center after today's events. You are looking at pictures that were taken by cell phone cameras, those pictures being beamed into our newsroom here at Fox. And we thank those contributors for bringing us up to date with the latest pictures of these awful events. Look at that campus, beautiful, you know, lush green lawns. It looks like a nice spring day there. And then this horror erupts with at least 20 people dead as the result of a gunman. Phil Huffstetler is a graduate student at the Virginia Tech campus. He joins us now on the phone. Phil, how did you become aware that there was trouble?
Hi, John. We became aware of the situation via my wife this morning, calling me. She's a teacher at Margaret Beeks Elementary, and she told me she called and told me that there was a shooting on campus. And I was already on my way to work this morning, so I was like, okay, well, I'll see what happens when I get to work. As soon as I got to work, they basically put the campus on lockdown, and they kept us updated with emails. But they were very vague emails, and they're just now police escorting everybody out of the buildings into the parking lot. They're releasing us building by building. So right now there's a nice little line of cars waiting to get out.
Yeah, I think your reaction would be typical. You hear about a shooting at a business or an office building or a campus in this case, and you think, okay, one person's been shot, I can probably go about my business. But in this situation, apparently the gunman, and again, this is all a little unclear, a little murky even after that news conference, the gunman then went off to Norris Hall and just really unloaded.
Yeah, that's what I had heard. A couple of people that had came over from Norris to our building. Norris was only about 200 yards away from Hahn Hall, and that's where I'm a graduate student at. I'm a polymer chemist there in Hahn Hall. And one of the other grad students that came over had told us that a professor had been shot and many other students had been shot.
Well, I'm sure you and your wife are grateful that you're both okay today, but so many students' families are going to be getting awful news today, and it's just absolutely
it's tragic.
Gut-wrenching. Phil Huffstetler, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Some new information coming in from the hospitals. As we told you, Montgomery Regional Hospital says they have 17 students being treated. We are now told that the, excuse the pronunciation, Carleon New River Valley Medical Center in Christiansburg reports that 4 people with gunshot wounds are being treated there. We are told that 1 person is in critical condition and 3 others are in stable condition. We're joined on the phone again by Rod Wheeler, former homicide investigator with Washington, D.C. Police. Now, Rod, we're being told that the university is staging releases.
Right.
If they say that there's 1 shooter, that shooter now dead. We don't know if that person killed themselves or were killed by law enforcement officials inside Norris Hall. But what is the purpose of staged releases? If all is clear, why don't you let everyone go?
Well, because they don't know for sure, Edie, that all is in fact clear. With such a high number of fatalities and so many people wounded still, the police need to really make sure that there's no one else that's a part of this shooter or that's, you know, a team member of the shooter, if you will. So that's why they're doing it in stages. They want to somewhat de-escalate everybody that's there on the scene, debrief those persons, and just make sure there's nobody else involved as a backup to the shooter. You have to always be cautious in situations like this, especially where you have so many fatalities.
And this is a very strange way that this all unfolded. We're told that the person goes into is in the dormitory this morning, kills a person there, wounds perhaps a couple of others, and then a couple of hours later is all of a sudden described as wearing a vest, heavily armed, and goes into Norris Hall and just starts shooting up the place, basically. So what you're telling me is as they're staging these releases, they're probably looking for people who would have information, whether there was another person involved on perhaps a team, someone who helped this person, perhaps was storing this, a lot of ammunition. If they were in fact carrying all of this about campus, the way they presented themselves in Norris Hall, it would have been pretty tough for that person to go for 2 hours on campus without being noticed. So is that the presumption that there may be someone else involved?
Well, you're absolutely correct. And you have to presume that, because if you think about it earlier, when we heard the police chief speak at the press conference, he even appeared to be a little bit confused and not exactly sure how many people were actually involved in this. And that's why some of the things he said was somewhat confusing, because this is actually unfolding right now. And so that's exactly what they're doing. They're trying to debrief everyone that was in both of those buildings and actually around that campus completely to find out if they know more information, who in fact knows this shooter, and whether or not there's anybody that could be involved. And let me just say one other real quick footnote here. Earlier I heard you mention about the FBI.
Yeah.
It's normal protocol, and just so that you and the viewers know, it's normal protocol now after 9/11, Edie and John, for the FBI to respond to shootings like this, especially in public places like a college campus.
All right.
So that's not unusual. So I just want you to know that.
Thank you. Rod, stay with us. We just want to bring people up to speed. I'm Edie Hill, here with John Scott. At least one person, or at least 20 people dead in Virginia today on the Virginia Tech campus. John?
It all started around 7:15 this morning. If you're just joining us, it is going to be an awful death toll at the Virginia Tech campus. It started around 7:15 in a residence hall that is normally pretty much occupied by freshmen. There was at least one person killed there and a certain number of other people injured. We don't know exactly how many. Then more than an hour later at Norris Hall, one of the engineering buildings where classes were apparently already in session, or at least becoming just getting started, this heavily armed shooter went walking through the hallways there with bandoliers of ammunition on his person, on some kind of a vest. And there you see some of the pictures that are coming out of this awful scene. This guy went from classroom to classroom, just firing at will, students and teachers desperately trying to barricade themselves in and protect themselves. But the gunshots were coming faster than anybody could react, and at least 20 people are dead. The gunman, we are told, is also dead.
And it's interesting. You'll see on our screen, the Associated Press is reporting that 22 people are now dead. The confirmation we have from the police chief on campus is that they're confirming 20, but the Associated Press is saying that 22 are dead. So as you know, this situation is unfolding, the investigation intense at this moment. We're joined on the phone now by Leah Burden, a student on the campus there at Virginia Tech. Leah, can you tell us what you experienced today?
I actually never went to campus. I got up to go into my class at 11:15. And I was running out of my room to go to class because I was running late, and I just happened to look at my computer on my way out, and my friend who goes to Shepherd University in West Virginia had IM'd me and asked me if I was okay because there was a shooter on campus. So I checked my email and saw that campus was closed and started flipping out and calling everyone, and my suitmate, I live in a sorority house, and my suitmate was on campus, so I called her to see if she was okay, and she kind of let me know what happened.
Okay, to update and clarify, and the information has been changing a bit, the campus is closed today. We had been told it might reopen tomorrow. Instead, the Associated Press is reporting that classes have been canceled for tomorrow as well. But the university was planning on having a convocation at noon tomorrow to help the students. They do have a hall set up also for people to go and get counseling if they need that. Tragic proportions. That's what the president of the university is calling today's shootings.
All right.
Yeah.
Again, we are looking at the pictures that are coming into the Fox newsroom. You can see there one of the victims being taken away by a team of law enforcement officers. And we are also told that this is a picture of the actual shooting suspect. The thing that I have a little trouble understanding here, and again, we're in the early stages of this, we had been told by the police chief that the shooting suspect is dead. And if this is the shooting suspect who's being arrested here, something doesn't compute.
That's right. And again, you know, we need to cut them some slack, because the Virginia Tech police are probably just overwhelmed by what has been happening this morning. The Associated Press reporting 22 people dead. The police chief there confirming at least 20. But he also said that they weren't sure if these two incidences were related. That doesn't make sense.
Well,
he also said that the shooter at Norris Hall was dead and had been killed inside Norris Hall.
Yeah, it could be. And again, you know, please forgive me if this turns out to be wrong. The AP is apparently saying that this is an unidentified man who's on the ground there, being frisked in that upper photo by the photographer, by the authorities. It could be that he vaguely resembled the description of the person that they were looking for, so perhaps he emerged from a building, he was told to get on the ground. That may be all that's taking place. Again, these photos are just coming in, the information just coming in. If you saw the news conference a little bit earlier with the university president and the police chief, they had looks on their faces of absolute shock, and you can sure understand why. At least 20 people are dead on the campus of Virginia Tech. Many of them are students. It all started with a shooting in a dormitory, a residence hall, this morning at around 7:15. Apparently then the shooter, because the police chief said they believe there is only one, the shooter walked or drove across campus, went to another building, a classroom engineering building in Norris Hall, and simply began unloading. He had lots and lots of ammunition, and he had an availability of targets, and many of those people are dead, apparently as many as 19 in Norris Hall.
Yeah, again, this shooting today comes on the heels of 2 bomb threats in the past couple of weeks. One, I believe, on the 2nd or so of April. One on the 2nd and one on the 13th. Both the targets for those bomb threats, Torgerson Hall, which is another engineering building. That is perhaps significant because today's second shooting occurred at Norris Hall, another engineering building. One student has told Fox News Channel that the killer went in and shot a teacher, shot one of the professors. We do not have a breakdown of the number of people who have been confirmed dead that are students and those that are professors. But some have been saying, you know, there had been a little tense on the campus after the school had been in a lockdown following those bomb threats earlier this month.
Well, and if you go back a year and a half, opening day of classes in 2006, there was that scare on campus when a jail inmate escaped from the Montgomery County Jail. He'd been in for some medical treatment. He escaped, overpowered an unarmed guard and shot him dead, then disappeared near the Virginia Tech campus. There was a manhunt that attracted nationwide attention, went on for more than 24 hours. That guy, William Morva, 25 years old, is getting ready to stand trial on capital murder charges. His attorneys are pushing for a change of venue. That may have in some way triggered the shooting explosion that we saw today, but it is in any other respect, as far as we can tell, completely unrelated to what's happened today. But again, at least 20 people are dead on the campus of Virginia Tech, and your heart just goes out to the parents and the wives and husbands of faculty members who may be affected here. But again, according to the university police chief, Chief Flincham, I should say, a good many of these 20 victims, and there may be more than 20 victims, a good many of them are students.
Again, information is coming in. Some of it is accurate, and the way these situations unfold, some of it will turn out not to be accurate. But we are told by the AP 22 are dead, 21 are wounded, and we are getting information into Fox News Channel that a student at Virginia Tech says that the suspect was looking for his girlfriend, ended up going into Norris Hall, lining people up, and shooting some of them execution style. Again, at least 22 are dead, according to the Associated Press. Now, this information has not been confirmed by a second source, but this coming in from one student at Virginia Tech, a reliable student there, but that is the information that that person has. It has not been confirmed by the police. We do know that there are at least 2 hospitals in the area that are treating wounded students. One of them is in pretty serious condition. At least that's the confirmation from that hospital. So 2 shootings today. To set this up, if you're just joining us, it has been one heck of a day there on the Virginia Tech campus. A gunman goes into or is already in one of the freshman dorms just after 7 o'clock this morning and shoots one person dead, injures at least one more person, perhaps more. We know that there are multiple victims there, multiple injuries. Then, a couple of hours later, a person described as heavily armed, Asian in appearance, goes into Norris Hall and shoots and kills numerous people there. At least now, according to the Associated Press, 21 people shot and killed there and many more injured.
All right. Rod Wheeler is a former homicide investigator who has had more than his share of situations, not exactly like this, but homicide investigations. Obviously, Rod, motive is going to be a big consideration here. You just can't imagine what's going to motivate somebody to want to kill this many people.
You know, and not only to kill them, John, but to kill them apparently from what it sounds like in the manner in which he went about doing it. You know, it sounds to me also, and this hasn't come out yet, but this guy had to have some type of an automatic weapon. I mean, you can't shoot that many people with just a revolver. So, you know, heavily armed, we're talking something possibly like an AK-47, an M16, which leads me to think, I don't know if this guy has any ties to the military, because those weapons aren't that easy to get on the street.
Well, Rod, we were told that he was shooting with a handgun. Now, if he came with a semi-automatic and you know, had a number of clips on his person, it's just as a simple matter of pulling out a clip and putting in another one.
Right. So a handgun, I mean, you know, an automatic handgun, whether it's a Glock, a 17, or a Glock 19 or something like that. Now, we know that those kind of, you know, weapons can shoot 17 rounds in 6 seconds. So it sounds like, you know, whatever kind of weapon this guy had, he came specifically with the intent to kill people today, and it looks like he achieved what he set out to do. You know, the other thing, too, and I mentioned this earlier, there had to be warning signs leading up to this, and I think that's what's going to be more interesting as we find out throughout the day today. What was it that led up to the shooting, and what caused this guy to go off the way in which he did?
It's going to be one of the worst shootings in an educational setting ever, certainly far eclipsing the tragedy of Columbine. And again, 20 people at least are dead. That according to the police chief on the campus of Virginia Tech.
We know that the buildings on campus are being released. People have been in lockdown there, but they are staging the releases. We presume that is because they want to interview people to find out, hey, were there warning signs, or are there other people who were involved in this? The question, there are many questions unanswered. How does a person get from a dormitory where he kills one person and several hours later, if it is the same person, have all this ammunition, gun, be able to line up and allegedly, in execution style, kill all these other folks? One student we talked to said that the person was moving through the hallways, going into a doorway and just letting go with the gunshots, shooting up the place. We're joined on the phone now by Amy Chung, another student at Virginia Tech. Amy, thank you for being with us. What information do you have about today?
Right now, I have pretty much the same information that everybody else has. I've been watching the news. Right now, I know there's 22 dead, and the campus is on lockdown.
What were you doing this morning when this all was happening?
I actually didn't have class until 11:15, so I was up and about in my apartment off campus. I'm about 10 minutes from campus, getting ready when I got the emails, and then that's when I turned on the television. Okay,
we were talking to Rod Wheeler, who is a former homicide investigator. He says there must have been some kind of clues. What has been going on campus? Is there anything that you can think of? We had heard about those 2 bomb threats earlier this month.
Right. The past 2 Fridays, there's been bomb threats in a few of the buildings on campus. At the time, I just thought it was a prank, but now I'm starting to question whether it's been related to today's events or not.
Yeah, the bomb threats were at one of the engineering buildings. It was at another engineering building, Norris Hall, where the second shootings and deaths occurred today. And Amy, as we're talking to you, we're seeing new video and new photographs come in from the scene. You could see authorities pulling people to safety. We don't know if those were students, and I apologize, I don't know if that's the dorm or if that is Norris Hall right there, but the police moving in and trying to get as many people out to safety as possible.
One thing that we just have to mention is that this is going to be one of the worst mass shootings really in American history, certainly among the worst since George Hennard killed those 23 people at a Luby's cafeteria in Killeen, Texas. That happened back in 1991. Now, 16 years later, comes this one, and it's going to always go down in the annals at Virginia Tech as just a terrible day. Orlando Salinas has been making some phone calls on these awful events, and he joins us now with an update. Orlando?
John, yeah, I was on the phone speaking with my niece, who is there on the campus of Virginia Tech with another friend of hers. They have holed up in a apartment within spitting distance of Virginia Tech, and they have told me that they are hearing indeed what we've been reporting, that at least 22 killed, and that the suspect apparently was on his way to find his girlfriend at the dorm. And on his way, before this was all over, obviously the numbers they're still floating a little bit, some 19, 20, 21, 22 people. Also shot the RA, the resident advisor, who was there, sort of the stopgap, if you will, at dormitories. Universities all across the country have resident advisors who are there many times to make sure to check IDs, to make sure that the people who are actually trying to get into the dormitory are authorized to get into that dormitory. And that RA is the person who is oftentimes the stopgap, who runs interference and decides that that person is able to get up and beyond that first floor. Oftentimes the second floor and above are where the folks live. The first floor of these dormitories is often basically communal living, if you will, the open areas where people maybe read, hang out. They are hearing that even a couple of miles away from Virginia Tech, well, I take that back, about half a mile from Virginia Tech, is another large, obviously, area where the students live, and they can hear, they're hearing from their friends half a mile away, the speakers that are ordering everybody to bunker down and to stay down and to not move. We have been on the phone with the school superintendent there in Montgomery County, there in Blacksburg, Virginia, and they are also in the process of deciding what they will do. They will not close the public schools, I'm told, because if they did, they would have parents flooding all these public schools there in Montgomery County to get their kids. So they're trying to decide exactly what they're going to do as the day goes on. John, Edie?
Orlando, again, the version of the story that you're hearing about the gunman in this case looking for his girlfriend, that has not been confirmed, but that is the story that's making its way around campus.
That has not been confirmed, but I'm hearing it, if you will, from the horse's mouth who are there. And they say indeed that this guy lined up the victims and shot them. The quote was execution style. And if you're wondering really how can you kill so many people so quickly, if you get them to acquiesce to what you're doing, you wave a gun, you tell them just to lay down or do whatever you're going to do, folks are going to do it. You've got the power there.
Right.
And unless you make the right choice, people die. And in this case, obviously, we know what's happened.
Orlando Salinas, again, reporting about some information he has dug up concerning perhaps the motive of behind these awful events today, where at least one person was killed in a residence hall at Virginia Tech earlier this morning around 7:15. Now, police say they believe there was only one shooter, so we're putting some of this together on our own, but we believe that that one shooter then left the residence hall, went to Norris Hall across the campus, and really unloaded there.
And killing, according to the latest numbers that we have, at least 21 more people there. Getting reports that some of them were lined up and shot execution style. The police say the gunman died inside Norris Hall, not telling us whether or not he committed suicide or was shot by law enforcement officials.
This is going to be, again, one of the worst shootings, mass shootings in American history. You go back to 1966, the University of Texas, when Charles Whitman climbed up into the tower there and opened fire sniper style with a high-powered rifle. This was apparently all done with a handgun. But so many parents, so many wives and husbands of faculty are going to be getting such awful news today. Our hearts and our prayers go out to them, and we know you share the same. I'm John Scott along with Edie Hill. Thanks for joining us today. The Live Desk with Martha McCallum right now.
A very tragic day and a lot to report for you. A lot of information still unfolding as we speak. I'm Martha McCallum. Welcome to the Live Desk for this afternoon. A very difficult, as I said, day for Virginia Tech students, and we're still continuing to get all of the news. Let's take a look at the news wall and get you up to speed.